Welcome to the Sparkle Show. With us, we have David. David, I'm so happy I finally got you on.
Right, I know it's been a while. In that we've a lot of skills, as we've noticed in society today. A lot of people have lost the view of openness to soft skills. They stepped away from being able to communicate on diverse subjects and diverse topics without maybe getting even angry at each other.
And I love the episodes I caught are really awesome, and you've touched upon things people don't talk about a lot. I saw an episode about domestic violence towards men, and we don't get that perspective. And that was the first time I really heard an interview like that. You want to talk a little bit about it and what inspired you to do an episode like that?
So a lot of our topics are the topics that a lot of people don't want to talk about, or don't want to indulge in, or don't even perceive them as an aspect of reality. Oftentimes, we see domestic violence as being a female issue and not as much as a male issue too. But it is a male issue. So we're touching on the outskirts of areas where people aren't willing to go ahead and discuss things. People aren't willing to look for or conceive the idea that that even exists. So that's where some of our topics come up. We're looking for topics that they're off the normal topics. You know, we did do one on COVID. We did do one on George Floyd. So we don't always. So sometimes we get into mainstream topics.
Did that go okay for you? Did it go pretty open? Did anyone get angry visibly, or everyone's okay?
Yeah, both. Which one?
But
are you talking about?
I mean, those are both very controversial topics. George Floyd and COVID, I mean.
Right. Both those topics went very well, I believe.
Good.
We gave some outside perspective from other sources that allowed other people to communicate in the page. So we do a live feed, and when we do a live feed, people are able to come in and give their point of view or their opinion throughout it. We'll read their feed and their views, which allows everybody to have a voice. And that's something that a lot of people don't have either. They're afraid to speak their voice or say what it is because of other things. Cancel culture might be a factor, other factors that rely in there. And if people don't want to talk, they don't have to. They can just enjoy and see what other people have to say about a subject.
So tell us a little bit about yourself too, how you started this show and what inspired you to start it and why your voice matters.
Mm-hmm. So I am a believer of, more open thought. I believe in things. I've read. So years ago, I read a book it was a Wayne Dyer. It's called Manifest Your Destiny, and that book kind of changed my perspective of my whole life, how I viewed people, how I viewed things in life in general, and in that. As time kind of went on, I met Shanti Niven. She's an international award-winning speaker.
I like her. She seems cool.
Yeah, she's great. And in that, we kind of came up with this idea to just do a show. We really just did a show one night. We didn't have green screens. We didn't have equipment. We didn't have anything. We just kind of did a show. And the viewership wasn't so great. I think we had 40 viewers in that show. It wasn't.
You start somewhere.
You got to start somewhere, right? And then viewers kind of went up. We've had larger viewers. And a lot of people watch afterwards. But it came to a point where some of the things that were going on in the country, and some of the things where Shanti. Her personal thing is kids and soft skills and learning soft skills. And that's kind of where we developed a lot of this, is allowing people to use soft skills. In fact, soft skills are one of the number one things wanted from an employer.
What is that? Can you define soft skills?
Soft skills would be your communication skills. They lead into things like communication, diversity of communication, how teamwork, dependability, adaptability, conflict resolution, flexibility, leadership. A lot of these things all
it covers all under soft skills. Okay.
Right. So these are skills that are your communication skills. Your skills in which you can go to, like here, we're on, we're live on or we're on a video here, and some of these skills, even that we're using in communication, a lot of people wouldn't, if they sat in front of a camera, they wouldn't know how to act, right?
Yeah, people get camera shy.
Yeah, they get camera shy, or they don't know how to look into the camera, or that's not really a soft skill. That's more of a hard skill, the training in that. But it relates to soft skills: how to use facial expressions, how to smile, how to communicate properly, in which people will get what you're saying, understand what you're saying, and then be able to relate that to themselves. Oftentimes in soft skills or communication, people will say something and they mean one thing, but the other person interprets it another way. Soft skills help to improve that, which leads to work, and how it was the Department of Labor that said that it's the #1 thing wanted by employers in soft skills.
That makes sense.
Yeah, Warren Buffett even said that soft skills are an important factor for him, for a person improving their lives 50% by just increasing their soft skills, right? And then there's other people, Jack Ma, who's Alibaba. You may not know who he is, but he was the CEO of Alibaba. He recently retired from Alibaba and is out doing a communication soft skills training foundation, in which he's going out to school systems and different things in order to help improve people's communication skills.
So David, you told us about Shandy being an award-winning speaker. What's your background? What have you been doing all these years?
So all these years, my background is technology, and I have a master's in cybersecurity, a bachelor's in business communication management information systems. The foundation of that is to be able to teach people soft skills using a training program to allow people, and that's where we're in development of that.
So people go to you when they want
to become a better speaker. Become a better speaker, not just like a speaker on a stage, but to become a better speaker in general, a better communicator.
But you're on the tech side of it.
I'm on the tech side of that, right?
That could come in.
I'm not the better speaker. She is, obviously, right?
You're good at both, but I was like, that could come in so handy because, I always feel technologically just really low all the time. I always feel like I'm behind everything. And it's funny because there's a lot of older people that are way behind that I'm helping. And I'm like, why are you wanting me to help you? I don't know what I'm doing. So
right.
I feel like you're very
right?
So you're probably very, very useful to so many people.
Yeah, I have a variety of skills, I guess, and continue to educate myself.
So what do people hire you for a lot? Like, what if I wanted to hire you? Could I hire you to figure out all of the tech stuff for my show, or if I was doing something like that, or is it more on stage? What could I hire you for?
I'm more self-employed, so I'm the CEO of a few businesses, so I'm not really in the hiring position, but I'm in the counseling, or I help people out all the time. People come to me, ask for what they should do maybe in their business to improve marketing or improve other things, and I give free advice to people. But for a lot of it, my skill set is not just technology, it's business too. I've been self-employed for 25 years, not straight. I worked for somebody, went out self-employed, learned some lessons, went worked for somebody, went to school, so for many years. I probably had 20 businesses in my lifetime, not all of them successful, and moved on from there. So I just keep learning new skills and learning new business aspects of things and just making it. So
would you be a good first step? So let's say I didn't have a show, I was going to do this show or a different show. Would you be, and I didn't know what to do, would you be a good first step for somebody that's starting a show or starting a business?
Starting a business, right, or even starting a show. That's something that some of our training is leading into, is actually starting a show, how to set up, how to inexpensively get going, and just get out there, put yourself out there. A lot of it in any aspect of doing a show, as you most likely know, is trial and error, right? So,
Right. Well, any business too.
in any business, right? You take a risk and you go out there and you think you have a foundation, you have a model that you believe works. A lot of businesses do fail, but if you fail and say, "Hey, I'm not going to do that again," then you
learn something.
Yeah, you've also learned something you can bring back to a workplace. But and working for somebody else, I can't remember who said it, but you can either go out in life and make somebody else rich, or you can go out and make yourself rich working for yourself, right? So,
Right.
and a lot of aspects, when an employer hires you, you're working for them for whatever it might be, $20 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're charging $40 an hour for you
Right.
to do that work. And in that, it's so they can run. When only doesn't you got to run the operations of the business. There's a lot of other factors. When I speak to people who have worked for other people their whole life, they don't always grasp the aspects of all parts of business. One, there's other functionalities of a business that an owner has to work on. They have to pay for the building. They have to pay for the desk. They have to pay for the any other options of
Insurance.
the business, whatever insurance, workers' comp,
Licensing.
Yeah, so there's a lot of licensing, right? So there's a lot of aspects that a lot of people don't look at when they have the employee mindset compared to the owner mindset.
And you do it all. You're pretty much a good, because I started a business long time ago. It was very successful for 10 years. But even though it was successful, there were a lot of kinks in the beginning. I wish I'd had someone. I spent like $5,000 on a website. It was before social media was as big as it is now, and it was kind of like a complete waste. So if I would have gone to somebody like you, it could have at least saved me money.
Right. I could have given you a lot of shortcut tips.
Yeah.
On what your business is. I think a lot of people, when they start a business, they have to look at their demographics. They have to look at who their customer is and where and how they're going to go ahead and attract that customer. The customer for any business is the key to it. Like Facebook, they're free, right? But they're not free because they have marketing and other things they sell on their site.
Right.
And I guess they sell some information, which originally when they started, that wasn't one of their models, to sell people's information. But as their free model and everything, they make small amounts, but they make it in large volume because large volumes of people market on them.
Right.
Large volumes of people go to their pages, so they have a lot of eyes, and that became the future of how these free sites work to get money through marketing. But depending on what your model is, the demographics of who your customer base is going to be is the whole part of your business, the whole core of the business. And by looking at that, if you have a product and it's made for women, and maybe younger women, then you look at that's your model. So how do you go to them to market to them? How do you get in front of their faces? Then if nobody ever sees it, it never becomes a viable product.
Right.
A viable product. So I think
And then what about, do you help people with their brand? Because there's a lot of people right now that are working on a brand towards something, so it's a very small business, or not even a business, it's the business of themselves, which people say I do. But do you help people with advice on that?
On their brand, well, the brand is really, depends on what and how you're looking at branding. A lot of people in their marketing of their service, which is, we'll teach you how to brand yourself and get out there and be branded, right? Basically, you got a logo, you got some stuff on your site. What is branding? Branding is when you say, hey, can I get a Kleenex? It's not called, the real name of it's not a Kleenex, it's called a tissue.
Right.
But the branding is Kleenex. Let me get a Coke. But you mean a soda, which may be Pepsi or Coke. So that's more the specifics of what branding really does for you, is that people use it in a regular term. That's more branding. I think that a lot of businesses who will go out and sell that service is brand yourself and put yourself. Really, and the brand, I mean, maybe in some aspects, the brand of knowing that word of mouth services would be a good aspect, I guess, of branding, is that other customers know you as the guy, the go-to person for that product. And in that, I think that go-to service in that product is going to be, and it can be by word of mouth because it's word of mouth free marketing, can lead to, increasing your sales in your business in any regard. But I think that the word branding has probably been misinterpreted a little. Yeah, misused. As a marketing tool for them to sell, hey, we'll get you out there. And there's so many things out there. There's SEO, search engine optimization. There's SMO, social media optimization, PPP, pay-per-click. There's different ways to market yourself and get yourself in front of customers. You do need to know who your customer base, though, is first, and then market to that direct group. If you needed a new lipstick, right? If I can get that lipstick right to you and say, this is the best lipstick, it stays on for 3 weeks, you never have to remove it, you can sleep with it, you can, right? You're like, oh wow, that's my product, right? And you're a lipstick wearer, so that would be increase your sales volumes just by going to people who wear lipstick and want to keep it on forever, or keep it on for a few weeks,
right?
Or makeup or whatever it might be, or I don't, just giving an example. I think though that overall in marketing is going to be your biggest aspect, and if you can get free marketing somewhere, which could be through SEO or search engine optimization or social media optimization, things like that, those things will allow for, they do take a little bit of time, they do take a little bit of work to learn them, but once you get them going and get your products out to the market, I've been involved in multiple products. One was Fizzlock. One of our models was to go ahead and we actually went to trade shows in order to get people aware of it. Mm-hmm. There have been a lot of inventions and things that have been created throughout life or throughout civilization that have never been seen before. They never made it really to a broader market, although they were great products, because they never got them to the people to see them, the people who would buy that product. In the process of, I guess, calling it branding, we're trying to relate to our customer as far as knowing the name, people knowing the name in branding. And in that, it would be customer to customer relations. I truly think that any business, customer relations is probably the number one factor after you've attained a customer, after you've acquired them from social media or anything else. That interaction with them is going to be phenomenal for you in the future. One, they may tell other people, they most likely will tell other people the service they got or how happy they are with the product. It's kind of the refinement of the rest of the whole process of the product purchasing. Amazon spent billions of dollars just on that, their customer service relations.
Right.
And a lot of other businesses do that. So that's key too. You can't have a customer, and which goes back into communication and soft skills in customer service. A lot of our businesses have to do with customer service. And I have a story of I hired a guy. He was my son's friend who I knew as a kid, and I hadn't seen him in years. And it's customer service, and so he said he's going to clean himself up. He's going to school. I said, oh, well, this job's great for him. Nice. He's looking for a job. Okay, bring him in. I didn't meet him again. I didn't get an application. I just told him, bring him in, right? Because I knew him as a kid, 8-year-old kid. And he came in and we sat him down on a phone, and my manager sat down with him, and I said, train this guy. He's coming in at whatever time. About an hour into it, he comes over to my office. He goes, Dave, did you interview him before? And I said, well, no, he's my friend, everything's good. He goes, will you come over here and watch this? So he'd go and he'd answer the phone, and the phone would ring, and he'd pick it up. What's up? Or he'd say, hello. Without saying, welcome to, we have a little skit. He'd read the line,
That is so funny. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that we actually trained him. I said, well, train him, get him going, and he actually changed his whole life. He's a manager now at a gym. He moved to Texas. He was a manager locally at a gym and moved out to Texas. Manager there. He calls me. He thanks me for giving him the opportunity and changing and affecting his life. So
that's amazing. You really help people because, like you said, you already have your businesses going. But if people want some free advice, they can come to you, and that's got to be time consuming.
Well, I don't do it all the time. I mean, certain people who I know come to me and they'll ask me for advice on they want to start a business and what I think about their business.
Do you ever do seminars?
I don't do any seminars. We actually were moving into that. So we do a class on Thursday nights, and that is Speakers Gym and Creative Minds. And then on the third week of every month, we do a class on business or things related to business.
How did you develop good speaking skills? Because I mean, from what I'm hearing, it seems like you're the tech guy, but now you're good at speaking. I feel like you're self-taught and like you learned, like you weren't always so good at speaking. I'm getting that vibe. I don't know. Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, you're right. I was terrible at speaking. I actually am on the spectrum. I'm on autistic. And when I was a kid, I didn't really speak at all. In fact, I was probably like that employee I hired. Who, what's up? I was probably more like him. But, so as time went along, I've spoken in front of groups before on different topics. But Shanti is the one who is attributed to my better speaking skills.
Hey. No, this is great. I want people to keep up and watch it because I mean, I was so riveted by some of your episodes. I mean, the domestic assault thing was just so powerful. It was really, really cool. So, congrats to you, like, for doing that. I think you probably helped so many people.
That's one of our goals in all of that is to make sure that we're helping people in general, to help people either get through, maybe they suffer through domestic violence or other issues. We've had a lot of people on our page that we've helped out who've suffered from PTSD by being a part of the group, interacting people with other issues that may be going on with them, maybe loss of job and they don't have food. We've provided food, grocery bags of food, and so it's really about us. It's really about trying to help people. Is the whole ultimate aspect of the whole show is to give people an opportunity to, grasp life with themselves, although something else might be going on. And a lot of other people have a lot of fun in there too. So
I love it, David. Thank you so much for coming on. We're going to keep up with you and we'll see you soon.
All right. Sounds good.
We have Doc Joe Martin. How are you, Joe?
Doing good. Thank you very much.
So I'm so happy you finally agreed to be on my show. You're so awesome. You're doing so many things. You're a chiropractor. You have a gym. And you're a Navy SEALs. Tell us about that.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, where do I begin?
How about with the Navy SEALs? When did you start that?
That's kind of an interesting story. Right out of high school, I was not one of those the smartest guys in the world. Basically a B, or maybe a C student, and really wasn't going very far in college right away. And maybe if I was lucky, I was a D3 soccer player. So the military was a good choice for me. And so I did about a year in the Navy, and I was stationed in the Philippines. And I saw these guys running around in some shorty shorts and no shirt on. And I'm like jumping out of planes and swimming all day long. And I'm like, I want to do that. And so, and this was when dinosaurs were still on the earth that I went through SEAL team training back in 1979. Do you remember that date? Oh, wait a minute. I don't know if you were born yet. But I did 6 years in the military. It was during, like, they consider it the Cold War time. I was in before Desert Storm. I was in before 9/11. So I was definitely fitness oriented. So when after I did 6 years in the military, I got out and got my undergraduate education in exercise science, which obviously kind of led me towards the gym that I own. But I didn't want to just, stay as a typical type of trainer. I knew I wanted to do a little bit more, especially with my background. So I went on to get my graduate degree as a chiropractor, and over the last lot of years.
Oh yeah, it's just like, why not become a doctor? I know, it's so easy.
It's a really good question, and a lot of people ask me that all the time, because I think the military time and then buckling down with school, I definitely progressed from a C student, to, a middle of the road B student. But what I was thinking about the schools, it was really interesting because I really wanted more of the fitness aspect. I really didn't want to deal with earaches and snotty-nosed little kids. God bless those doctors for doing that. That just wasn't me. I was really involved in the fitness stuff. And when I looked at either physical therapy or chiropractic and the sports aspect of it, the physical therapist at the time had to be under the auspices of a medical doctor, where the chiropractors could do their own thing. You could be your own boss. So definitely coming out of the SEAL team, I didn't really want to work for anybody. I wanted to be my own boss. So, was very blessed to have gotten through the chiropractic college, which is definitely, a pretty rigorous program. I was fortunate to spend 6 years on the faculty. I taught at the chiropractic college for 6 years in the Bay Area, and then moved to Fresno. And here I am today.
Here you are today. I saw that picture in your office. There was a bunch of people trying to be Navy SEALs, and you said about like 2 or 3 of you made it. How hard is it? Because we always hear about it's very competitive. It's hard to be Navy SEALs. And what makes it so hard? Is it just sticking through the physical part of it? Tell us about it.
The physical part is definitely tough. We all know that, because if you just go on attrition, it's about a 20% pass rate. But I thought to myself when I was going through the program, and everybody has an opportunity, or not an opportunity, everybody goes through a point in their training to where they want to quit. I don't care what they tell you, whether they said, never crossed my mind. I'm sure deep down, everybody thinks about quitting. There's only a 20% pass rate, but you know what it is? I don't think it's, myself personally, I don't think it's the physical part, because they develop you. It's the mental part. And if you can handle it from that point of view, to understand that, the motto that you use in the SEAL team is, the only easy day was yesterday. Every day is hard. You know what I mean? Every day of the training is hard. Every day of normal life for normal people is hard. We just think about it in the moment. But when tomorrow comes, we go, man, yesterday really wasn't that hard. But when we were in the moment from yesterday, it's super, super hard. So the training aspect, if you learned early on in the training, because it's like 9 months long, plus more now, that you just got to get through day by day, that's going to get you through the training. And I think that's what kind of brought me to my life, because everybody goes through business problems, everybody goes through relationship problems, everybody goes through mental, physical problems. But if you know that you can just go day by day, I think that really set my foundation of who I am as a doctor and a gym owner now.
Well, did it help not to get overwhelmed? Is that part of like the day by day? Because if you thought about it, it gets overwhelming. Is that part of how you compartmentalize it?
Yeah, and you just know that there's only 24 hours in a day. At some point, they got to let you sleep a little bit, and they got to feed you a little bit. If you know that the next day is going to come and it's going to start all over again, you just deal with it day by day. I like the way you use the word compartmentalize, because I think we do that. I got to get through this segment. I got to swim this distance, but I know when we're done, it's lunchtime. They got to feed us, So that's a good way to look at it. I think if a lot of guys would know that going into the training, that they just go day by day. I tell people, just take day by day, evolution by evolution, or training program by training program.
And then do you think things were harder because it's back in the day? Because I've heard there's been a lot of transformations within the military, and not that it's gotten easier, but
oh yes, it's gotten easier. Damn it.
Yeah, right. So you were in there when they when they were really mean to you, right?
You know, it's funny you say that because we all I guess you hear from generation to generation. You know, when I was young, I used to go to school uphill in the snow both ways to school. Um, we can all argue the fact that something's a little more difficult when somebody did it compared to somebody else in the future, or somebody in the past will tell you, I had it harder than you did. It's always like that cliche with boys, you know, my dad's bigger than your dad. So I think what I went through it was very difficult. I think the guys that go through it now, you know, have it tough too. I just think, I personally think over the years, they've made it, you know, evenly across the board over the years since I've been out, pretty difficult.
So we're involved in a push-up challenge. You're involved in it you first, and then I got involved in it, and it's for PTSD awareness. Can you tell us about the push-up challenge?
Yeah, it's really interesting. So for the most part, sadly to say that, you know, on the average, 22 of our service members, whether they're veterans or still active duty, you know, do succumb to suicide. It's really sad to say.
Did you
know, the mental
experience that
rigors,
did you experience that personally with your friends that you went through boot camp with, or any of that?
I mean, obviously, I've known a ton of, you know, team guys, you know, former SEAL team guys that have passed away. Maybe not personal encounter per se, but you know, through the grapevine, through it's a pretty still very tight knit group.
Right. That's
No,
what I
not in
thought
general. I was really fortunate when I worked for a company called TRX, those TRX straps. I was in charge of the military education program, so I firsthand got to visit every single military hospital that the U.S. owns. Balboa,
Oh, wow.
Walter Reed, Bethesda, Maryland. And I got to work with some of these wounded warriors. And it's, you know, it's just tough. You lose a limb, you get shot, you're paralyzed. These are mental aspects that they have to try and overcome. So with this push-up challenge, the stuff that you're doing from the fitness point of view and the contest that you're in, the type of training that we do, my education, the psychological stuff that I've learned besides being in the military, is that if we can introduce exercise to most people, that mental fitness becomes stronger and stronger. You know what I mean?
So, this challenge is about to make people aware of PTSD. Was it something that you were even aware of back in the day when you went through to be in Navy SEALs? I know that as later on, and like you said, you went and did the TRX thing, because they probably didn't have that name for it back then. What did you think
when
about
dinosaurs were on the earth? That name back
Yeah.
then? Yeah, way back then. What was that name for it back then? I don't even know.
Well, and we didn't talk about it back then either, like we talk about now. Like now we're a little more like we're aware of everything. So how did you guys deal with that back in the day?
You know what? That's a really good point. Probably didn't, you know, back then you probably keep things in more. I mean, we're trying to make people in our, as we evolve as a human being, trying to make ourselves more aware of things that are going on in our life. When people keep things in, that's when stresses occur. You know what I mean? And so I think it's definitely a positive thing. We're doing some really, really good things to make people aware of what's going on. And I think really people probably didn't keep statistics maybe back then. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or they would say, oh, well, so-and-so got out and, you know, he or she committed suicide. But I don't think the military tied it together in these last 15, 18 years of
That's a good point.
more than violence that we've had. I think we're becoming more aware.
Did you suffer from PTSD?
You know, it's kind of interesting to say because, you know, I'm labeled as a disabled veteran. I was jumped and stabbed when I was in the Philippines back before I went through SEAL team.
Tell us about that.
And ironically, 4 years ago, due to the stab wound, I had a heart condition. I wound up having a stroke, and they related it to the stab wound from an infection where I spent 10 days in a Navy hospital. So when they evaluated me, you know, they go through things that you do, which you may think is quirky, like you don't like crowds. You sit facing the doorway and you're back against the wall. these are all certain things that people that have heightened sensitivity, maybe because you were jumped in an alley, which I was in the Philippines.
So what happened? Can you tell us a little bit
duty.
about the Philippine story? I think people are curious about how you handled that.
Well, anything can happen to anybody, whether it's in Fresno, the Philippines, New York, or whatever. And I was, on leave, just taking a night off, and two guys tried to jump me. I fended them off, but I wound up getting stabbed in the back. And, I wound up 10 days in the Navy hospital with an infection, but there was martial law back then. And they did find the two guys, and they were, it was the police were the judge, jury, and executioners. From the rumor has it after I got out and got better. So it was not when I was there, it was definitely not a good place to be. For the bad guys were all over the place in the Philippines during martial law. And I just was one of those guys that got jumped, and thank God everything turned out okay. And even 30 years later, I'm blessed to be in the shape that I am. But it's definitely a scary moment. And once I got evaluated by the VA, they were just like, "Oh yeah, you got post-traumatic stress," and I'm like, "Oh really?" But I deal with it from a fitness point of view. I think that's why I got into the health and fitness industry. And I own a gym now because I get out all the stresses of my life in the gym just like you do.
So tell us a little bit about your gym. How long has it been around? Has it been around since the beginning of your chiropractic practice, or did it come later on?
No, it's a great question. No, I didn't have it since then. So I've been in Fresno for just about 20 years, and for the most part practiced like a regular chiropractor in a medical type of facility. But I was always into the fitness, injury prevention. I would workout plans. I did diet plans. And then then I did some work when the economy took a dive. I worked for the fitness company for 6 years. Then when I came back in 2013, full-time practice, I worked in a couple of gyms in town. And then I branched out on my own 5 years ago, and then named the facility we're here presently, Doc's Gym. So we've been here just over 5 years.
And so tell us a little bit about your gym. Can anyone become a member? Do people get a little bit scared because it's so rugged and you're pushing sleds? Tell us about your gym.
Obviously it's set up more from a CrossFit style functional conditioning type of facility. We are outdoors now. We're following all the COVID requirements. So it's a lot of the outside PT type of workouts. We have trainers that do functional conditioning. We have trainers that do CrossFit. We have people that just have regular gym memberships and things of that nature. I will do private workout programs if needed. But the chiropractic office, I'm blessed that the chiropractic business has been pretty busy. So I don't do a lot of personal training anymore. So
anybody can join your gym at any time, right?
Yep. Our gym fee is pretty low. We just charge $50 a month for open gym. If you need a personal trainer, somebody to run a class for you, those are more expensive, and you just deal with the trainers. But for the most part, it's open gym. Anybody can come in right now and train. It's just, like I said, $50 and go month to month.
That's great. And then CrossFit. So you also have a CrossFit program at your gym. Tell us about that.
Yes, ma'am. So it's called CrossFit SIU. Right now we just have one class at 5 o'clock in the morning. We're looking at opening up some more classes along the way. And that program's been in existence a little over 2 years now within the gym.
So tell us about CrossFit, because you said you were doing stuff for the actual CrossFit for a while, that you were actually going around with the CrossFit program.
Oh, and so CrossFit was what we did a little work with them too, but mainly I was working with the TRX, those TRX straps, the body weight based training.
Yeah,
so,
the TRX. Okay.
Yeah. So I worked for that company for about 6 years. I was their first senior master trainer. I went around. 6 years. I traveled 1.6 million miles, traveling all over the world, going to all our military facilities and putting them inside their rec areas, and then training the trainers.
And when was that? How long ago has TRX even been around?
say for example, 2005, I think, right around then, so about 15 years. And so I worked with them from '06 to 2013. So just a little over 6 years, almost 7 years.
And you know what's funny? As a trainer, people ask me all the time if CrossFit's okay, because I've heard a couple people said they got injuries. They said, is it safe? And you're a chiropractor. So tell us a little bit, dispel some myths for us about CrossFit.
Ooh, great question. You know, she's trying to hit me with the hard questions. So there's a lot of things to be said about any type of training. We could have the discussion about powerlifting. We could have the discussion about strongman contests. We could have that question asked about bodybuilding. So CrossFit is a training program that is definitely rigorous on the body, on the shoulders, on the joints, and etc. So are all the other type of workouts also. But the thing with CrossFit, if you do CrossFit like you do functional conditioning, like you do bodybuilding, like you do powerlifting, like you do strongman contests, if somebody is working with you that is proficient in those moves, I personally don't think, as a doctor, as a chiropractor, that the chance of getting hurt are any different than playing soccer or football.
Right.
What happens
you have to be
is,
very careful.
Yeah, people have a tendency to jump into something both feet, and they may not get trained by the proper professional, and you know that as a trainer. You know,
well, even
and
us, if we do something wrong, I mean, I've known professionals in the field that have hurt themselves really bad, like Jim Reyes, and we know what happened to Lucas last week.
Yeah, and so that's a great example of somebody like Jimmy Reyes that owns Flex Factory, been in the business forever. But we are all susceptible to injuries if we're not doing the things right. Jimmy was not doing anything wrong. He just got burnt out, and then to try to do something that, you know, was maybe not meant for his body size.
That's usually how we get hurt.
Yeah, Lucas, young guy, bench pressing a lot. He's trying to, you know, develop his body from a bodybuilding point of view, and just sometimes things happen. You know what I mean? Things happen.
Are you lifting too heavy?
What's that?
Are you lifting too heavy? Do you think that plays a part too?
Yeah, and if somebody's prepared for that, obviously they can do it. But then obviously people try to reach certain goals, whether they want to compete in a CrossFit game, or they want to bench press 500 pounds. Eventually they're going to get to a point where it's going to get super heavy. They got to be super careful. CrossFit, right. You know, any sport.
So what kind of are some of the injuries you've seen? Because as a chiropractor, you've rehabbed a lot of people that have been through some bad accidents.
Yeah, so like a lot of my practice is a lot of personal injury cases, car accidents, slip and falls, and things like that. That's basically the brunt of the business. But the part that I like the best, because I do own the gym, I do like to work on the rehabilitative stuff for shoulder injuries, knee injuries. I do a lot of work on ankles because people are running all the time, whether you're pushing a sled or playing soccer. I like the extremity part. I like the sports rehabilitation, injury prevention aspect. I love preventing something before it happens. You know what I mean?
Well, explain some of that. So do you educate people a lot? Because you have a lot of bodybuilders that come to the gym. Do you try to tell them how to prevent a lot of injuries? Do you tell them sometimes if you see them doing stuff wrong?
So from a coaching point of view, I don't do a lot of that. So say, for example, there's trainers that have programs. I try not to. Obviously, one thing I never do, you never approach a trainer in front of their client.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's just, you know, bad juju. But as the doctor, I can sometimes have trainers come in, and I can talk to the trainers and say, hey, listen, you know, let me give you some pointers on some of the things that I've seen over the years that helped. Not even bringing up any bad habits, just giving them more knowledge. And, you know, some people can read between the lines and go, oh, wow, I think I just did that with Johnny today in my training. So I definitely try to bring the chiropractic profession, my exercise physiology background, to making sure that people are doing things right along the way, and just giving them pointers to stay safe.
What do you see people do wrong the most? Like if there's something that you could just be, is there a certain way people are lifting wrong? I mean, I have an answer for that. I see certain people doing certain things wrong. What do you see people doing wrong that if you could just
do you know what I think? I think the most is most people don't engage their core. Core engagement. So if you're doing a deadlift, make sure your core is engaged. And people think the core is only abdominal muscles, but the core is actually a cylinder. cylinder. See that? Kind of
Nice.
like a cylinder.
Okay.
So it's really your abdominal muscles in the front, the rectus abdominis. You have your obliques, which are on their side, and you have the erector spinae, which is in the back. So it's a full circle. So we
So it's your
talked
whole
about
area, so your whole circle, like your whole waistline.
waistline, the front
This
and
is your
back.
whole core.
Yes, ma'am.
How far
Yep.
does it go?
Well, up to the top of the ribs, down to the hips.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm just,
Exactly.
yeah, for the people can understand.
That was good because I don't think my camera would be able to handle that.
Well, I was just, no, and I like what you're saying because that's very good. I mean, a lot of people, someone today just told me they don't do abs enough because they said, I'm doing this, what should I do? I said, make sure you do that. And they're like, we always neglect that.
So, and here's the thing, it doesn't necessarily have to be crunches and ab work. It has to be thinking about core engagement. So if you're doing a deadlift and you just lift from your legs and your back, and you don't tighten up your stomach on the lift or engage, you're doing a tricep push down on a rope and a cable. If you engage your core, you're also activating those muscles that actually stimulate and continue the exercise, and you're doing triceps at the same time. Even on a bench press, engage your stomach, tighten your core. That also educates and starts to stimulate growth for your core, makes you more stable. When you say, for example, go home, you worked out, now you got to take the trash out, the husband or the wife's taking the trash out, they do a pull and a turn, they didn't realize how heavy the trash can was, and they go, Doc, my back went out. Well, I think I deadlifted wrong. Well, what else did you do? Oh, I took the heavy trash can out, but you didn't engage your core, So it's in everything in life, we want to make sure that we're doing things properly, bending at our knees, using our core engagement, being able to engage the core when you push something overhead too. Because then all of a sudden your back goes out because you're unstable. So I think core stability is one of the biggest things that I think that trainers do miss, that I try to make sure most of the people know when they're at our place.
And as a chiropractor, how often should we be seeing a chiropractor? Because this is where everything gets really sticky. Some people are like, well, you shouldn't become so dependent on it. No, you should. What do you think for the average person? The average person like me?
That's a really good question. And usually what I do is I give people examples from your car. So when you have a brand new car right off the showroom, the chance of getting the tires rotated, chance of getting the oil changed is not as frequent because it's a new car. Makes sense. So young kids playing sports and whatever, they may not have to see a chiropractor very often. But what happens is most people in life live their life like a demolition derby. They're banging and they're bumping into things and they're getting all jacked up. So I tell them to use the chiropractor as kind of a maintenance type of thing, right? Jiffy Lube, any analogy you want to put together. Every 3,000 miles you come in for a tune-up.
Oh, that's
but what happens is people will understand that they have to get some type of therapy. And guess what? Most of the people work on the muscles. They come to Doc's gym. They work out. They go to a massage therapist. Great idea. They do acupuncture. Great idea for the muscles. What people don't understand is if you and I looked at life like this, life is like a well. Every day, you and I have to get water out of the well. Mm-hmm. And guess what? We only have two things. We have a rope and a pulley. So the rope analogy would be your muscles, right? Okay. Every day we're pulling the rope, pulling the rope, pulling the rope. But then what happens is the rope gets frayed. Oh, the analogy for the frayed rope is I got a muscle spasm. I'm going to see the acupuncturist. I'm going to do this because the rope. But what people, I'm going to put some duct tape around the rope and the pulley will work right. Of course it will. But guess what? Nobody ever checks the pulley. What about the pulley's crooked? The pulley's rusted. The screws are loose on the pulley. You're still going to get the water out of the well, but the pulley's not working right. You want to have things work perfectly in the body. So the main purpose, and this is silly analogies, it's way more complicated.
This is good.
But
this is what we need.
If you see the chiropractor, say once a month, and you're a gym member, I'm working on the pulley. I'm going to make sure the pulley's aligned perfectly. So when you use the rope for everyday activity, lifting, bending, twisting, turning, a soccer mom, or whatever, and something like that, that I'm doing the pulley part. Excuse me, the pulley part. making sure that that's working right. So with that being said, you don't need it as frequently as some people think. But if you put something on a schedule once a month, I think that's a pretty good idea.
So some people need it more than others, and then if you don't, just a little maintenance and keep that going.
So we look at this, for example, most people will see an eye doctor after the age of 30. They see an eye doctor once a year. That makes sense, because of strenuousness and it's not crazy. Most people will see a dentist 2 to 3 times a year, right? And they get their teeth cleaned and whatnot, right? And the idea behind it is, because what do you do with your teeth? Not very much. You just eat and breathe out of your teeth, but you see somebody 3 times a year. So with the chiropractic, we're lifting, bending, twisting, turning, bench pressing, and whatever, right? And we're beating up our body. Once a month probably should be good. Now, some people, like you said, if I have a truck driver, first time in his life, he's 60 years old, he's been driving a truck for 40 years, he's kind of beat up. He may need more than once a month.
Right.
But each individual we check and assess privately and in the office to see what their maintenance is. Everybody's different. Nothing's cookie cut.
And back surgery, it's funny because I have this person I was going to train, and she's like, my doctor told me not to work out at all. I need back surgery. And last time I saw her, she's like, yeah, I'm going to get back surgery. Is that pretty extreme? I mean, and is that normal to be like, don't exercise and just get a surgery? Well, from your personal opinion and being a chiropractor, what do you think about back surgery? I know that's a loaded question. I'm sorry.
It's another, man, thank you very much for asking some very good questions. I think hopefully if people will watch this, they'll get some good answers. So the idea behind it is it's a touchy area. So I would have to say, for example, see the patient, look through some MRIs, investigate their therapy, what they've done to go yay or nay, right? Obviously, even I work 1 day a week in a medical office. Dr. Juan Batista, I think you may know who he is.
Yeah.
Great guy. I work 1 day a week in his office. I see his back pain patients. So he is a guy that deals with the maintenance aspect. He does his medical doctor stuff, but if he sees somebody has a headache and medication won't help, he sends them for a chiropractic adjustment to alleviate the tension in the neck. Same being said for lower back. So a lot of times we've worked together with patients to try, and obviously the end result is surgery. But if we can do some tissue work, some chiropractic adjustment, maybe some joint injections for pain, we can prevent somebody from going down that road of surgery. Do I think people overtreat in the chiropractic profession? Yes. Do I think people overtreat in the medical profession? Yes. Physical therapy, yes, people overtreat. I'm hoping, and I think over the years I have a good reputation, that I just treat the problem and make sure the patient gets everything they need to get themselves better. So I try to push people away from surgery as much as possible. Would I be lying to you if I said I never sent somebody for surgery? Of course I have. But I try to do my part where within my circle of knowledge base and practitioner base that we try to prevent that as much as possible. But we try to use as many people as we can to make sure that one patient gets the best care they can. They'll see the medical doctor, they see the orthopedic, they see the chiropractor, they see the physical therapist. And if the last resort is surgery, we hope we as practitioners are doing the best for the patient.
And what do you think about obesity? How much do you think that affects back problems?
Well, I think it's a tremendous problem, with back pain. Because if you just think about it, if I took, they call it a plumb line in construction. If I took a piece of string and I dropped it to the bottom, gravity makes it perpendicular. Does that make sense?
Right.
So the spine aligns the same way. So if you turn sideways, and I went from the ear to the shoulder to your hips to behind your knees down to your ankles, it should be pretty much anatomically correct.
Right.
But if I add weight into the belly and I start pulling the body forward, then the top of the body is going to kick itself back and it starts to turn and move the vertebrae, making it more compression on the spine itself. So if at all possible, we try to keep people as lean as we possibly can to prevent those back injuries.
This is so important. And I love how you're like a one-stop shop because you can fix the back and you're like getting people fit.
Yeah, I've been in that industry. I mean, I think the military, being in the SEAL team really helped me out. I was really big into my diet back then to stay in shape. I was definitely, I've been competing in any type of sporting event I could possibly think of since then. I've always been watching my food, but then I also get the education in exercise physiology and a minor in nutrition. So I'm big into the food part. And then obviously, the mental fitness aspect is the exercise. And so I think it all encompassing. Does everybody have to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger? No, of course not. But, people want to stay as fit as you possibly can.
And you're accepting new clients if people need to get some back adjustments, right?
Yes, we're always taking new clients to see what we can do to help them out. But like you said, to prevent those back surgeries.
Before I let you go, can you tell us a little bit about all of your behind you? You have so many accolades, I'd love
this,
to.
This is what I think most professionals, the doctors or the lawyers, whatever. You know what they call this? They call this the love me wall. Look at how much I love myself. Look at all my accolades. I've been really blessed. I did pretty well in the chiropractic school. There was one award given to me as the clinical excellence award given to one student. So it wasn't because of my grades, because there's no cum laude on my diploma. It was for, the voted by your peers and the faculty. What's the typical word we use in high school? The most likely to succeed. Just as a good practitioner. And there's a couple of things up here. I was very blessed. I taught the chiropractic college for 6 years and, voted 4 out of the 6 doctor of the year, So, I just have a lot of passion for what I do. And, some of the things up there kind of, acknowledge that. And I'm very appreciative of the fact and blessed, that I take this profession serious. I take working with patients and clients to make them the best they can possibly be. I try to stay in great shape. My job is to drag people with me so I can keep them as fit to say, wow, look, Doc's in pretty good shape, for a guy his age. And to where I can go, okay, great, let me show you how I did it.
That's great. Do you offer any military discounts? I never asked you that. Because I know
we definitely take care of our military. We definitely do a good job of taking care of our service members.
That's awesome. And I've gotten adjustments from you. My neck, hey, you've made it feel a lot better. And it's, you tell them a mess back here.
Well, if your audience doesn't know, and if some of them have seen you, you're still on that challenge, the Miss Fitness competition. You definitely put in the work. So, you definitely periodically need to get tuned up here and there, because you definitely put in the work, and I see you with your clients too. So there's a shout out to you.
Thank you so much, Doc. We really appreciate you coming on.
No problem. We'll see you soon. We'll see you at the gym.
Yes.
Thanks a lot. Have a great day.
Welcome to the Sparkle Show. So I'm your host, Sparkle Soojian, and I am running for this year's Miss Health and Fitness 2020. I need every vote, and I need everyone to vote daily. You get one free daily vote, and you can go to my Facebook, Sparkle Soojian, and I always have a link up. You just click it. There's one box that says the Warrior Vote, and underneath is a free daily vote. The Warrior Vote goes to Wounded Warriors. Every dollar you put is $1 towards Wounded Warrior and counts as one vote for me, and you're welcome to do that. It's a great cause. We've always supported veterans at the Sparkle Show. I donated last year to Sherry's Arc, a very good organization that helps homeless veterans. So we want to help veterans in every way we can. If I win, I am going to use some of the money for Wounded Warriors and to help veterans as well. And then also the different organizations we talked about that we would donate to, and especially to Alyssa Kay. Again, I have that link on my Facebook. Her son's going through stage 4 cancer, so we really want to show her support. That's another really good cause to donate to as well. Donate for her son, donate for Sherry's Arc. So it's going to take about another month of the contest for them to announce a winner of Miss Health and Fitness. I still need those votes. I really appreciate it. I know it's a lot to ask for, but it's for a good cause. We want to get that out there, and I hope to represent my community well. So let's come on and do those votes.
Please don't go away now. Hey, babe, do you have a plan?